Hello, and welcome to the Town Hall demonstration of the Zurmo open source CRM application. My name is Stafford McKay. I handle marketing and community management for Zurmo. I'd like to point out that this is clearly a recorded version of a meeting that we usually hold live on a weekly basis. It's usually on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Central Time, which is 1900 UTC. This recording is intended for people who are unable to make that live town hall. I strongly recommend that you attend our town hall in person if that's an option for you. During the live sessions, we answer questions from the audience and provide attendees with more up-to-date info on the application's roadmap. So if you can, tune in live next Thursday. You can find it on the zurmo.org community calendar listed as Zurmo Town Hall Demo. The objective of the town hall is to present a rundown of the Zurmo project. As we're constantly developing and adding new functionality, the content changes on a regular basis. So as I mentioned before, if you can ever attend us live, I strongly recommend doing so. Let's take a look at the agenda. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about the Zurmo story, how we came to exist, and the reasons why. That is, why have we spent so much time and effort building this application and what we see it accomplishing. Next, I'll start the actual demo. We'll run through the application's basic navigation, how Zurmo is used for automating sales processes, the notion of gamification and how that works within the application. And finally, we'll go over Social CRM and how social feeds and conversations in Zurmo work to help coworkers communicate and cut down on email. Okay, so let's get into the guts of why we're building Zurmo. I'll start with a statistic that keeps some of us in the industry awake at night. It's actually, to us at Zurmo, kind of the massive elephant in the living room. And that is that 47% of CRM implementations failed in 2002. And that's not the troubling part. The troubling fact is that in 2012, 47% of CRM implementations also failed. So basically an entire decade has passed and we've seen zero progress. It's what you could call an inconvenient truth. Those of us involved in Zurmo have been around working in this space during, the past pathetic 10 years. We haven't exactly been able to be as proud as we'd like to be. So telling someone that you work in customer relationship management is not only a bewildering tongue twister at a cocktail party, it also invokes a pretty bad reaction. People say CRM, we tried that at our company, nobody used it, the idea sounded great, automating sales and marketing and support processes was a fantastic idea when it was presented to us by a software salesman, but then the reality is, but it was clunky and tedious to use and ended up sitting on the shelf gathering dust and costing us a fortune. So we've dedicated our careers to CRM. We feel like this can be better. We have gotten tired of hearing this story time after time, and we've decided to do something about it. So what we realized is that CRM often fails because of two main reasons. The first reason is that there's no such thing as one size fits all. So no one-sized CRM is going to work for any organization. A successful implementation is a solution that has been customized to meet the very specific business processes of the organization that it's built for. True open source allows for the type of code level customizations needed to make a CRM installation work for a specific company. We do not believe that developers should have their hands cuffed. They should be free to make any kind of alteration they deem necessary, and not just limited access to a handicapped community edition. What we're providing is a full functioning CRM that remains open source and has the sort of features that you normally would see in proprietary software, like reporting, custom workflow, customer portals, etc. If you're given real open source access and you're not tied down by limited features, as a developer, you're more likely to feel comfortable about making code level customizations that can work for specific businesses and for specific industry verticals. Okay, let's look at the second reason why CRM often fails. The second reason is that end users are uninspired by CRM. They don't see the value in meticulously taking down contact information. They feel that things go a lot faster if they just stick to their own methods in dealing with customers. So whether that be pen and paper, spreadsheets, Outlook, whatever, we've decided to get to the bottom of why this is the case. So we've built an application that we believe shows real value. It's clean, it's uncluttered, and pardon the cliche, it's also intuitive. We've also built in gamification elements that motivate users through points, badges, leaderboards, and missions. I'll get into that in more detail during the demo, but finally, I want to mention we've taken a hard look at social CRM, and we've separated the fad from the actual value. Initially, we focused exclusively on internal social CRM, which encourages better communication among employees through social feeds and conversations. So that's encouraging collaboration among users. Again, I'll dive into that into more detail during the demo. But the main objective here is to cut back on internal email clutter so that employees can get their jobs done and focus on clients, not on administrative confusion. Okay, so without further ado, let's dig into the demo and let's look at Zurmo. I want to focus first on basic navigation, starting with the home page. Then I'll cover the list view, the detail view, and edit view. So the basics. Okay, let's start first by logging into Zurmo. Okay, so I'm now logged into a demo instance of Zurmo, and I find myself at the home page where we have what we call a dashboard. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a navigation center, like a flight deck on a plane. The dashboard has portlets. So you can see that I have organized these portlets according to my preferences. I have my open tasks. I find that to be one of the most important things. So that's front and center. My leads are pretty important too. Down here I have my latest activities. To the right I have the social feed, and I'll get into that in a little bit later. Upcoming meetings, and a couple of little charts here. Opportunities by lead source, opportunities by sales stage. Now if I care to, I can reorganize this however I'd like. I can pop my leads up there. I can move my tasks around. I can maybe I'm very curious about marketing today, so I want to know how we're doing by various lead sources, and this is all in real time. I can also kind of create custom dashboards. I can configure this however I'd like, and then I can save as a new dashboard. Perhaps if I'm wearing my marketing hat today, or if I'm wearing my sales hat, I can go back and forth. But for this demo, we'll just stick to one. Okay, so I have everything that I need really in one place, and I can add a portlet. Let's say I want to add in. I have my leads. I have my. Let's see, I don't have my accounts in here, so I can go ahead and add my accounts in, and then boom, my accounts are provided. There. So let's take a look at the list view. Okay, on the left-hand side here, you see there's a menu. I'm going to click on Contacts. Okay, so here I have a list of all the contacts I'm privy to seeing. I can organize this list however I want, by name, by account, say, by status, by owner, etc. I can also determine which columns I'd like to have appear. So let's add industry, for example. Columns. And we'll go ahead and add industry and apply. And then we can see that we have the column industry, which I can organize alphabetically should I so desire. I'd like to see first, all of the various contacts I have that are in the automobile industry are listed, in banking, etc. I can scroll down the list and I can see what I'm trying to find. Excellent. I now find myself in the detail view of a specific contact. The detail view is where I can find all of the information about that contact that I need in one place here at my fingertips. So in this example, I see the basic information, the name of the contact, Dr. Kirby Brown, the company he works for, which is Petrox Oil Company, his phone number, all of his information, for contacting him. I also have upcoming meetings that are associated with this contact, open tasks, opportunities, and latest activities. I can create a note. Let's say that I've found out that this particular contact will be moving to Argentina. So I'll say Kirby is heading to Buenos Aires for 6 months. Now I can see that that note has been created and it appears in my latest activities that are associated with the contact Kirby. Okay, so next what I'd like to do is I'd like to edit Kirby's record. So this is what we call the edit view. Okay, so I can see right away the information that I can edit pretty easily. One thing I'd like to point out is I can determine who has the right and permission to view this particular record. Right now, only I can view it as Jim, but I can also select people who are in certain sales channels, certain regions, which are made up by groups in this drop-down. I'd like to actually make it visible to everyone. So I'll move down here and I'll put in a secondary address for Kirby, which could be, let's say, Viamonte 358, and that's in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Okay, save. And Kirby's record has been updated, and this update is reflected in the detail view. So now that we have covered the basics of navigation, that is the home page, list view, edit view, and detail view, I would like to take a look at Salesforce automation. So I want to show you how to create a fresh lead in the system, convert that lead into a contact, add an account with which the contact is associated, create an opportunity, and then show you how you can track your deals on the homepage dashboard. Before I get into this, though, I want to go over the concept behind lead conversion. A colleague of mine here at Zurmo describes a lead as being a one-dimensional piece of rubber. Other than some key information like a name, we don't really know what it is or if it will ever develop into anything at all. So in this case, let's call our lead Molly. Okay, once we've engaged with Molly, she starts to take shape. We learn the department that Molly works in, the company that she works for, her title, and so forth. If talks proceed even further and tangible business presents itself on the horizon, then we begin to take interest in Molly's colleagues. At that point, this one-dimensional unknown becomes multi-dimensional. So Molly becomes a contact. She converts from a lead to a contact, and an account is created that serves as an umbrella under which we find her and her colleagues. So let's say Molly and her team work for a company called Rain Shield Umbrellas. Let's stick with that analogy. One of her colleagues is Betsy. In this hypothetical scenario, we are a waterproof fabric company hoping to land Molly and Betsy as new clients. So we go through the sales cycle with them and ultimately create an opportunity for $550,000 worth of fabric. Okay, so let's see how everything I've just described to you works in Zurmo. Okay, step one. I'm going to create the lead that we talked about named Molly. All right, so let's say that it is Miss Molly Johnson. The status of this lead is new. Could also be in progress, recycled, or dead, but this status is new. Let's see, I don't know what the job title is. I just met the person last night at an event. But I do know the source because I was at a trade show. It was a trade show event. Okay, and I do know that the person is located in Chicago. Great, but otherwise that's about it. Let's say the industry I happen to know is manufacturing. They do manufacture umbrellas. All right, so I can add a little description. Met her at the Chicago Fabric Convention on 3/23/2013. Great. Save. And well, here's an interesting time to note that I have achieved something and am being recognized for it. I have created a lead, so I'm getting a badge in the system for having created a lead. In this particular demonstration, this is the first lead I've ever created, so therefore I get this little badge that I can put on my chest and wear it very proudly. I can post that to my profile, and I will show that to you down the line as to how that works. That's part of gamification. So great, we have our lead, Miss Molly Johnson, like a one-dimensional piece of rubber. We don't know much information about her, but let's say I want a task to, let's see, find out more about Molly / qualify as potential. Okay. Great. So let's hypothetically assume that I have now been in touch with Molly Johnson. I found out more information about her. The deal is moving along quickly here, and we can see that all of a sudden Molly is becoming a qualified lead for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert her from a lead to a contact. All right. By making this conversion, I must indicate which account Molly is associated with. So in our hypothetical example, we said that the company she works for will be Rain Shield Umbrellas. And there it is, Rain Shield Umbrellas. All right, so I'm going to create the account, Rain Shield Umbrellas, in the process of converting the lead from a contact. At this stage, I will complete the conversion. And two things have happened. First of all, the lead record has just changed its status from being considered a lead to now a contact. So now I can find her in the contacts module instead of the leads module. And the account Rain Shield Umbrellas has been created. So perhaps I want to add some information about Rain Shield Umbrellas. Perhaps in addition to the contact Molly Johnson, I'd also like to add the contact Betsy Smith. Okay, as I said, Betsy is someone who works with Molly under the umbrella of the account, which we're calling Rain Shield Umbrellas conveniently. So, Betsy Smith. Okay, and since Betsy Smith is a contact, the status drop-down field is relevant to contacts, which is a different set of options that you may have for leads. So, this could either be a qualified, you go into this assuming that this contact is qualified, because otherwise this would be a lead, not a contact, or is already converted into a customer. Let's say this is qualified. We want to maintain that our source was the trade show. Everybody has visibility. Perhaps we'll put a primary address in there. We'll say 200 South Wacker Drive, and then we'll say Chicago, Illinois 60601. Okay, great. Now that we have created a lead, converted that lead into a contact, and in the process created an account, and also created another contact who works with that person at the same company, I am going to take the Salesforce automation process to the next level and create an opportunity. Okay, so we're creating an opportunity that is associated with the account Rain Shield Umbrellas. In our hypothetical example, we said that we'd have that opportunity to be worth about $550,000 worth of fabric. So we've created that opportunity. Here, the name of the opportunity. I can set the currency. One thing about Zurmo is that there is a tool included in the application that searches for real-time currency conversions so that you can always track various deals in various currencies, and you can say, all right, US dollars, 500. Oh, that's a little too many zeros. There we go. 500,000. There it is. All right. Excellent. And the close date shall be soon. This deal's going to turn around pretty quickly. We'll give it a couple weeks. I can indicate the probability that it will close. In this case, I can say I believe that there's about a 60% chance that it will close. The stage, let's say that we're beyond the prospecting stage, and we're actually negotiating this before we've received a verbal confirmation. And again, we'll be true to our original source on this, and we'll indicate that this was stemming from a trade show. Okay, so I save this, and keep in mind I've put $500,000. I've also gotten a badge for having created an opportunity, but keep in mind I've put that this opportunity is worth $500,000. So when I go back to my home page and I look at my opportunities by lead source, I can see that my trade show lead source is higher than it was before. Okay, and the opportunities by sales stage being negotiating is higher than it was previously. All right. All right, now that we've covered the basics of the Salesforce automation process, I'd like to spend some time talking about gamification. Okay, first of all, what is gamification? It's a pretty new concept, so I want to be sure to explain it well. Gamification is the idea that the gaming mechanics you see in traditional gaming environments can be applied to non-game scenarios. So the points, the leaderboard, etc., which you see in something like Pac-Man, this method of measuring progress and encouraging friendly competition can be applied to something as mundane as business software. And that is what gamification is about in a nutshell. Frankly, there's a lot more to it, but I'm limited by time here. If you want to know more about the concept itself, we have a whole blog category dedicated to it on zurmo.org. So let's see how gamification works in the system. I want to show you the leaderboard, badges, categories, and missions. Okay, So the first thing with gamification that I'd like to illustrate is the accomplishments of badges as you navigate through the system. So in this case, I'm logged in as Mary, and immediately after logging in, I received a badge informing me that I've reached level 2. And I'm going to show you where those aggregation of points and levels and categories all kind of come together. But this is great. I've reached level 2 for having accomplished a set number of tasks within the system, for having used the system. This is encouraging user adoption. It's encouraging me to sign in, to navigate through the system, and also to use best practice customer relationship processes. So I'm proud of that. I can post that. Okay, I'd like to head over now and show you the leaderboard. In this leaderboard, I can see all of the different users or employees who are using the system, and I can see that Mary is in second place and Jim is in first place. Let's take a look at Jim's profile to see what it is that has brought him into first place. Now keep in mind, of course, this is a demo instance here, so he hasn't acquired too many points, but we can see that in the overall statistics, we have various categories that are broken down, including general, which is all points together. We have sales, new business, account management, time management, and communication. So we can see that Jim here is very good at creating new business. Okay, he's also good at account management. He's not so great at time management. He's pretty good at communication. So we can kind of get an idea for, if I were Jim, what areas might I need to improve in order to be kind of more well-rounded and have more points. I can see the achievements, which are expressed through badges. So the number of times I've logged in, I get a badge if I've logged in 10 times, 50 times, 100 times. That's basic user adoption. That's just encouraging me to log in and use the system. The accounts that I've created, which is sort of both best business practices and also good data stewardship. The notes that I've created, the posts, which is kind of associated with communication, the leads, tasks, contacts, and opportunities. Now, of course, once Jim does other things, there will be many more badges that have been accomplished. Finally, within the context of gamification, I'd like to point out the notion of missions. Missions, or challenges, are a way for users to challenge one another to achieving certain tasks. So we have a couple of missions here that Jim has created. One of them is to analyze the server infrastructure and look for ways to save money. So I can click that, and I can see that there is the description of the actual mission, the status, it's available, and a comment that's been left by another user, and another user, and then eventually a user can accept this mission, and Jim will be notified that this mission has been accepted and what the due date is, etc. So if need be, you can add files that help describe the task and so on. And there can be a reward. In this case, it's knowing that you're an awesome person. It could be lunch. It could be whatever you'd like. So that's the basic idea behind missions. So we've covered gamification, which basically, to sum up, is intended to encourage people to use the system, follow best business practices, and collaborate with one another. I'd like to now talk about Social CRM. Social CRM, within the context of Zurmo, is largely about employee collaboration. Employees can use the same type of social technologies we see in the world's most used social media platforms, but internally as an enhanced means of communication. So let's take a look at how that works. We have social conversations and social feeds. Conversations are private. They're invite-only messages accessed within the CRM. They are meant to replace email for internal communication. So one can upload attachments and view the whole conversation thread. Okay, let's take a look at what conversations look like in Zurmo. Okay, so here I am in the Conversations module. I can see 3 conversations with which I'm privy to seeing. Let's click on RFP templates. So Mary has created the conversation. I'm still using the version from May 2011. Have we updated this? This is an email that she could send out to everybody, or she could create as a conversation thread in Zurmo. I'm logged in right now as Jim, and I will say, actually, we are updating the RFP templates now. Okay? Okay, let's skip ahead and say that I'm now logged in as Sally. I've uploaded the new RFP template. I'm making a note that I'm attaching that new template to the email thread, and I am commenting. And we shall see that Sally Smith's comment with the attachment, which is a hyperlink, I can click and download it right away, is available. And everybody within this conversation, all of the participants, are able to see this. If I'd like to, I can take someone out of the conversation, or I can add them back in. I can close the conversation, I can keep it open. Okay, so to sum up conversations, we've looked at how a conversation is created, how various participants may be selected, and how people may contribute notes and attachments, and really use this internally as a tool to replace email. Okay, now let's move on and let's take a look at our social feed, where the conversations are privileged. That is to say, only people who are invited to participate may see the thread. The social feed is public, and I don't mean public as in everyone in the entire world can see it, but people who have a login to the system, people who are using the system internally, are able to see all conversations, all activity that is occurring in the social feed. So let's take a look at how that works. Great. So let's take a look at the social feed within our demonstration here. All right, I'm logged in as Mary. On the right-hand side of her home page, I can see the social feed. I'm welcome to type something in right now. Update my status. Let's say I'm doing a demo video as we speak. I can make that comment, and it appears in my social feed. I can look down and see other comments that have been made. You may remember that Mary reached level 2 earlier in this demonstration. She chose to share that on the social feed, and there it is. Jim made a comment that a certain account, Petrix Oil Company, is opening an office in Germany. We should consider introducing them to our partners in Berlin. Mary's commented on that, John's responded, and if you'd like, you can click on Petrix Oil Company, and you will be taken directly to that record. Okay? What's interesting about this is it also replaces email in the sense that you can just make a quick status update that might not really benefit everyone in the organization, but just seeing it quickly on the social feed. If you have something to add, you're welcome to add it in. If it doesn't apply to you, you're welcome to simply ignore it and move on. And so it's pretty useful the same way that we might update our status when we're on a business trip and we're in a different city. Let's say, I'm in Phoenix for the week. Well, if any of my friends are in Phoenix, or if anyone else happens to be there, then they might chime in on my personal social network and say, hey, I'm here too, let's grab dinner on Wednesday night. But I'm not going to email all of my contacts to announce that I'm going to Phoenix. It's a great way of communicating. It applies in our personal lives, and of course it can apply here within business scenarios as well. So finally, as we reach the conclusion of this demo, I'd like to look at a couple of options for deploying Zurmo. There are two main hosting options when it comes to most software these days. There is hosted or on-premise. I like to use the analogy of a car. Hosted means that the software sits in someone else's garage. On-premise means that it sits in your own garage. In hosted scenarios, you have a wide range of choices. So you can have your car parked by a white-gloved valet who's going to treat it like his firstborn child. The garage will buff the wheels, dust the hood, and do some maintenance, like take care of your oil changes. Zurmo can be garaged by just about anyone. There are one-click installs offered by Turnkey Linux, A2 Hosting, Bitnami, and so forth. There's a free trial offered by us at zurmo.org that leads into a couple of different hosting plans depending on your requirements. Now, of course, you can also host the application yourself. That's what most people choose to do with their cars. They garage them themselves. But the difference is that with a piece of software, the maintenance requires a lot of hands-on work. So you have to know what you're doing when it comes to installation, updates, etc. If you're skilled in this department, go right ahead, but please follow directions, though, which are found on our site, and our forums are particularly useful in this area. All right, I finally want to talk about what our plans are for Zurmo. Over the past couple of years, we've posted well over 25 releases in beta, leading up to our big accomplishment in 2012, which was 1.0. We currently have a full functioning, well-tested CRM application that is open source and ready for companies to use. So you can check out our past releases to fully get a sense for what we've built so far. But let's talk a bit about our future. We accomplished a lot with 1.0, but we're moving forward with our eyes set on the target of 1.5 and then 2.0. So in those releases, you'll see more of what we call enterprise functionality, like reporting, custom workflow, and deeper email integration. I want to point out that these are features not commonly seen in an open source edition. In fact, arguably, they're not offered at all by anyone the way that they will be in Zurmo open source. That is to say, freely and openly. I know I mentioned this before, but I'd just like to reiterate our reasoning behind this. We want to build the highest engineered CRM application that people will actually use and developers will feel comfortable customizing. Other open source CRM products have failed in this department by handcuffing developers through handicapped community editions. We feel like that is counterproductive because it does not encourage further expansion of the application. We want Zurmo to be great, and we know that in order to be greater, we need to keep the doors unlocked and encourage people to get in there and feel like they can do whatever they'd like to. That is mutually beneficial to end users, developers, and us. Let's keep in touch. If you have any questions, head over to our forums. Feel free to introduce yourself there. We have a very active community of both users and developers who like to help each other out there. And I bet you if you have a question, it will be answered pretty quickly. You can also follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook for updates. And you can send us a good old-fashioned email if you'd like to. And we look forward to being in touch, and we thank you for watching the video today. And again, I'd just like to remind you that we will update this video as more functionality is added to Zurmo and as there's more to talk about. But for now, take care.